Hello and welcome. It's the 90-day website mastery podcast with myself and Pascal Fintoni. It's episode 16 and we are delighted to be here. We're celebrating the launch of our new program and the completion of our website best practice webinar series. We wanted to find a way to continue to share more advice and insights about making your website work harder and for you to feel proud about your website again. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on LinkedIn, and I have my very good friend Pascal with me. How are you, Pascal?
I'm very well, thank you very much. You just said episode 16. When you and I launched this series, we kind of said, well, once we run out of things to say, once we've covered all the questions, we'll stop. But it looks like it's such a vast project, right? We love website, you and I, we've been involved for decades, but I think it's because it's multifaceted. It's about the technical endeavor, but it's also business development. It's about audience engagement, an extension of customer service approach. It's just so rich that I can see this little series running for a while.
We don't struggle for content, let's be honest, and we're both really passionate about this subject, and in fact we're just passionate about making websites look and act well for organizations, and for organizations to be able to feel proud of them, and so yeah, we're not going to run out of content, let's be honest. And it's an ever changing world, so there's always something new. So much so, each episode we have 4 segments. We have the You Ask, We Answer. We have website stories. We have the website engine room and the website call to action, where we suggest one change or adjustment that you should be making to your website right now, something really simple and easy that you could be doing. But we also always like to start with You Ask, We Answer, where we have a look at either a question that's been submitted by the community or where we've researched online, and Pascal finds something and then asks me about it. So we're going to start with You Ask, We Answer.
Thank you very much. So for episode 16, the question is almost in 2 halves. What are lead magnets? And can you share examples of creating compelling content to attract website visitors? Now, this was during a workshop, so confession time. I kind of cobbled 2 comments or 2 questions into one for you, Jonny. Well, I lead magnets, people having a discussion, and then people said, I still can't quite picture for myself what you mean. Can you show me some examples? And I had some, but actually kind of a literal call to action for you and I. We should maybe start to keep track of examples for our lovely friends, because we have it in our heads, but there's nothing like doing a show and tell. And the conversation around lead magnets during the workshop was around the term. I can tell people were struggling. I would argue it's been done to death now. It's been overused. It's been abused, of course, for people who are nowhere near as ethical and honest as you and I and our viewers and listeners. Because for me, the whole concept is, everybody knows about after sales care. Typically, someone's already been one of your customers, have enjoyed the experience being looked after by you. When you talk about lead magnets or content hooks or the terms, I'm thinking more about pre-sale scare, Jonny. This idea of showing enough of your approach to customer service and looking after your customers, as I mentioned a moment ago, so that it feels like it's a safe bet to get in touch, whether it's through a form, through popping into the shop, or to fill in on the to ring or to fill the WhatsApp inquiry form. What's your view on lead magnets to begin with as a term?
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't sound great in terms of the sort of real thing of what it is. You're trying to create this magnet where leads are just sort of, they're just sticking to you and running in and giving their email address and giving, can't wait to share their contact details with you, and that's ultimately it's organizations, businesses that are trying to generate leads by creating what they call lead magnets on websites. And so I think you're absolutely right, Pascal. The term is questionable. And also it doesn't really help the mindset in terms of what that content is, and I think that's possibly where you're coming from, and especially in the workshops that we deliver, we talk a lot about this. So I think it's more about the value. It's more about what value can you offer, and how can that value inevitably put someone in a position where they want to give you their contact details because there's a ton of value there, and all throughout you're demonstrating your expertise, you're demonstrating your thought leadership, you're demonstrating your awareness and your breadth of knowledge. So I think, a way to think of it perhaps is a value offer, or perhaps exclusive content, bonus material, some kind of special guide, premium content. It's that expert insight. It's the it's the ability to be able to sort of say, look, in return for contact details, we can give you a huge ton of value here. So that's in essence what we're referring to. And you asked for some examples. I don't know if you wanted to share some before I did, but
So just to build on what you were saying, for me, what you're saying as well is that whatever decision you make in terms of what this would look like in the end, it has to feel almost very natural and normal. You would do this face to face. I mean, to say the advice would be shared face to face. You would give maybe a printout of a checklist or a guide, whatever. So for me, when people plan about the lead magnets, it has to be a very natural and very honest extension of what they would do in a physical world, so to speak, as opposed to some contrived, weird kind of result because you've been doing far too much research. It's almost like when you had the last conversation and you were super helpful to the other person, what was the conversation about? And can you then capture that for all those who could not be there that day? So, yeah, what kind of examples, come to mind for you?
Yeah, that's really good how you've explained it, to be fair. And it's about that additional content that you may not have thought about having on a website that's come up in conversation in some kind of client meeting or pre-client meeting. And how could you take that conversation and turn it into a value piece? And so it could be anything from ebooks, checklists, quizzes. It could be even a free trial. It could be a white paper. It could be discount codes, even all sorts of different things where there's added value. You see in a lot of cases where someone's developed some kind of calculator or some kind of planner or calendar or all sorts of different things, really. And sometimes you might include case studies into these to back up what you're saying. But it's about going back to helpful, resourceful content that's filled with value, loads and loads of value in there. And that goes back to really thinking about your value proposition. What is it you're offering clients that's going to help you stand out and be at the forefront of the products or services that you're offering?
I love that. And if I may link it back to the 90-day website mastery program, we have quite a meaty session on that where we ask you to reflect on your audience. And it's all about what can you do to make them understand something faster, and what can you do to help them do something better. And I think once you start to make this like a column system, as you can imagine, and then in addition to it, you can have the discounts and the special offer, you have a lot to consider. But this idea of pre-sales care that is almost like the two bookends of after sales care. So before we move on to the next segment, over to you, viewers and listeners. What do you think of the term lead magnet? And do you have a more elegant one that you could suggest to Jonny and I so we can maybe in future use it ourselves? So I love this segment. You ask me answer because I never know what you're going to say to begin with, but also how it helps us clarify a few things. But let's move on with website stories. Now, in this segment, Jonny and I choose an article, a video, an infographic, an ebook, something can help to review and react so that we can bring about some lessons about being a website marketer and owner in today's economy. So for this episode, Jonny, we've gone for a video, short video. Video was recorded for Moz.com. We are fond of that brand and platform. Jason Dodge was the speaker presenter, founder and CEO of such marketing firm Black Truck Media Plus Marketing. And the title is fascinating to me. The title is as follows: Making Industry Landing Pages Engaging for B2B Companies. And this is part of the Whiteboard Friday video series, which I know you're very fond of as well. And it was fascinating because in the space of 5 minutes, which I think is also a lesson in there, James was able to share not only advice, but some warning as well, and allow you to just go and reflect. And that could be almost a precursor of a team meeting or some exercise during a training session. And this all to do with this kind of accepted wisdom that if you want to target and attract a particular sector, currently the practice by and large is about rushing headlong and creating a landing pages to show the world how much you know about that sector, the sector page or the industry page and so on. And Jason is kind of warning us about two things. One, typically those pages will not perform so well in search, so you're going to already put yourself in danger of being criticized for the poor performance of that page, because it is quite rare for future customers to search for themselves, if that makes any sense. And then the other thing, therefore, to watch out for is, even if you were lucky enough to get people to land on that page, all they're going to see is a summary about an industry they know all too well, if they may know better than
Probably
you.
more, yeah.
So Jason's advice is great. So forget about this. Think more about this idea of the B2B landing page to facilitate the sales process, to start dealing with that customer journey, what he calls sales enablement. And quite simply saying, please understand that the reality is your B2B customers are looking for a solution to a problem. They're looking for a mirroring, a repetition of who they are and what they do. So really, for a B2B landing page to be engaging, Jason says, challenge yourself and ask yourself, to what degree do I understand my audience as humans to begin with, their challenges, their pain points, their wishes for the future? And so he goes on. So really what I would call, of course, the audience profiling or persona, and then find ways for that knowledge and that discovery and that findings of problems, solutions in our results to be present on that landing page, to make it engaging, to not use any other measures. So just closing on that, because I want people to go and follow the hyperlink in the show notes and watch the video, but get your reaction. Jason finishes with this, saying the B2B landing page is the virtual handshake that brings people in and make everything more engaging for your brand.
Well, I think sectors are really important. However, I think the primary thing to focus on is the pain point, is what solution are you solving? What what pain point are you fixing? And it's only after that that someone's then thinking about the sector itself. So I think he's absolutely right in terms of, if you want a landing page to win and you want it to win really well, it has to talk in the right language. It has to straight away tap into what the problem is. What are they looking? You've got milliseconds for someone to decide if they're going to engage with a page or not, and even a website, never mind the page. And so you've got milliseconds to grab the sort of the big pain point and to then filter them through some kind of funnel in terms of the content, in terms of that sector. How you introduce that sector content, instead of leading with sector content, saying, we know everything about manufacturing, and there's someone reading this thinking, well, no, actually, I know more than you, and this is great. You're telling me all about manufacturing, but you've not mentioned my pain point and what I'm actually trying to achieve here. So there is a balance, and I think if you look at the past and you look at how people have done it in the past, it's very much been focused on the sector only. Whereas if you want to make a landing page really truly engaging, then I can see how this will certainly take this up a step in terms of that engagement and in terms of tapping into someone's pain point straight away. That's the key thing, straight away.
Yeah, and people watch the video at the very, very end. Jason gives examples back to that of what you can do to really add elements. And I think it's about this idea of, we talk about this a lot on the program and on this podcast, this idea of being explicit as opposed to being implicit. So, people could say, well, yeah, but it's obvious, no? Well, you've got to express it, because ultimately it may well be that you're the fourth or the fifth website someone has visited, and this is the fourth and fifth time that they see a summary of their sector, and you're the only one There's even just mentioning the job title, the people that you deal with. You're the only one that's saying, and this is how we did what we did, and this is why we did it that way, because of that challenge and the need for that solution. And then you can add the case studies and the accreditations and so on and so forth. So it was just a very simple video, but as always, behind a very powerful message and reminder. And I think for me, it's also what that I do a lot with my customers, Jonny, is about this idea of the website was launched maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, a bit longer, and to go back to the content and challenge yourself, saying, is it truly engaging, or is it just my first pass? This is like still the draft version of that website. I just went to the launch day and then had to get on with my day job and forgot a bit about it.
Well, unfortunately, anyone that thinks they can just build a website and they've ticked the box, then unfortunately, that's where you're going to fall, because it's ever evolving. Imagine it as a shop window on a high street, and most shop windows, redress every sort of 4 to 6 weeks, even. So, it's really important to keep your website fully up to date, but also on trend, on point, and in terms of really understanding your audience. So yeah, landing pages are especially if you're doing pay-per-click campaigns as well, you really need to tap into the issue straight away and really understand what that user is looking for, what that potential client, current client, whoever it might be in your community, what are they wanting immediately, and how can you address that straight away on a landing page? And then think of ways to give them that deeper content, to build that trust, to build the association deeper within the website, and sort of showcasing some of that on the landing page. But that key message has to be pain point focused. I would definitely agree.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, watching, in thinking that seems like a hard thing to do or time consuming, it's actually a lot easier than you might think. Just join, go on the road or attend virtual calls with all your customer facing colleagues and just listen and take notes. I mean, literally, just half a day with your colleagues who are in conversation regularly with your customers will reveal so much more, and then you can add on to that keyword research and the rest. Well, on the subject of doing something, let's move on with our last 2 segments, and we're going to begin with the website engine room. So for each episode, Jonny and I choose one app, one software solution, maybe a piece of kit that can help make life easier as a content creator and website manager. So Jonny, what is your selection for episode 16?
I've gone with Novio, so snov.io. It's a B2B sales automation platform offering a variety of tools for lead generation, cold outreach, email deliverability, sales management, and more. It's a bit of a CRM itself, but ultimately it's a way to automate cold outreach and email campaigns, fully segmented with lots of different types of workflows. It integrates with pretty much every CRM or app that's out there. And yes, there's lots of competitors, but having tried and tested quite a few, I really do love Novio, snov.io. There'll be a link in the show notes. And as I said, it's that ability to be able to send extremely personalized emails in an automated way. And yes, of course, there has to be what's the word I'm looking for? Authenticity, and all emails, of course, should be handwritten and sent not en masse, is what I'm trying to say. But the harsh reality is that organizations, depending on the number of leads they need or the number of inquiries they need, do have to find ways to automate these things. And this tool really helps achieve that.
Yeah. And did you like, I'm guessing, the interface? Did you like the way it was really guiding you through the steps?
Yeah, really easy to set up, very easy to use. Their support desk is brilliant. As I said, the integration is very good. The email deliverability is very good. Tons of functionality. Yeah, I really like it.
Excellent. I'll definitely have a look at this. Now, my selection is actually inspired and informed by the subject of episode 15, which was around accessibility. Here, and I spent a lot of time, and in fact, I believe it was my website call to action to go through images and adding the alt text or the alternative description. And then I was kind of thinking, maybe on occasion it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, I've been there before. You're just about to finish, you're uploading all the content, this long form article, and then you've got to add the alt text, and it just doesn't come to you. You just look at the image and you're not sure what to say. On occasion, just copy and paste a file name, but we want more than that. And I just came across this AI-powered digital assistant that can help you put together a very descriptive alt text for images. It's my friends at ahrefs.com, kind of SEO supporting tools. I put the link on the show notes. It's a beta testing, so it's free of charge. And literally, you would upload an image, the one that you're about to put on your website if you're using WordPress, and you ask for suggestions, and the descriptions are exceptional. So for the test, I put a picture of myself. That's what I had at hand in my little folder called PR pictures. And literally, it was even naming the color of the waistcoat I was wearing, because of course I wore a waistcoat on that picture. It was telling people I was sat in a room, that there was a light, that there was wallpaper. It was describing everything. I mean, short to telling the world I was French. I suppose if I put my name in the in maybe the file name, they would have kind of done the link with AI. It was just actually very, very good. And I thought, well, so there's two things then. You can use it as is, or you could be inspired, as you and I've mentioned time and time again with AI solutions, to come up with a descriptive alt text, because sometime, well, we all run out of steam and we all up against it. So to have a digital assistant that can help you do that from Ahref, that's wonderful.
Well, you know what you've just made me realize whilst you've been talking here. Not only does it solve the issue of trying to come up with descriptive alt tags, but what about giving you the ability to reverse engineer images to be able to take that prompt to then start producing your own AI images? So if you've got an image that you really like the look of and you want to come up with something similar, putting it into that then gives you somewhat a formula to what the prompt would be if you were starting from scratch. So on my AI journey, I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. However, if the tech team from Ahrefs are listening, we came up with the idea. Jonny did, so we're expecting something for it. Excellent. Thanks.
Reverse
Thanks
prompting. I like it.
Excellent. Let's move on, if you don't mind, with our final segment for this show, the website call to action. We like to wrap up the show with the one change, the one adjustment that can make a big difference to your website right now. Jonny, what is your call to action?
I've gone for a really easy one this week, but really important as well, especially if you got it wrong. Your favicon is the image that is shown in the top of the browser when your website is loaded. So if you've got 20 tabs open, each one has a little icon next to the name of the tab, and that's your first opportunity for branding and professionalism. And it frightens me that because I audit websites all day, every day, hundreds and thousands of websites I've audited, and it frightens me how there's still lots that don't have a favicon set. And so sometimes it's just the WordPress icon, or it's the Shopify icon, or sometimes there's just no icon whatsoever. And as I said, it's just your first opportunity to check that branding's there. And more importantly, it might be that you've had a rebrand, but no one's thought about updating the favicon, so the color is wrong. So it's simple. In a lot of cases, I'd hope it's correct, but in those few cases where it's not correct, it's probably sending a really bad message to your audience. So it's a really quick thing to just double check, and if it's not right, just ask one of your developers to fix it.
Yeah, and it goes back to some of the things we discussed in the program. Your role or the team's role is to remove all obstacles to trust, building trust, and to add the elements that are going to add trust, which is where my call to action is an interesting one. It's almost informed, you could argue, by the first two segments, the question about lead generation, lead magnets, and this idea of engaging landing pages. I would like people to look back at their mission statement, go back at their brand value. When you first launched a business or when you relaunched a business, to your point, and you capture your why and the how you're going to do what you do in a particular way. And very often it's internal communication to begin with. But then the question for me is then, once you've reconnected and reread or listened, if it's a video format, your mission statement and your values, ask yourself, are those elements featured sufficiently on our website to support the engagement with our audience? And if it's not the case, or maybe it needs to be refined, the simplest thing you can do, back to your point about simplicity, is to create what I called a manifesto page. And there's examples galore with the high street brands, whereby it's a simple one-pager where you state why you do what you do and how you do what you do. And literally, that's kind of clumsy grammar, but it works really, really well. And it's almost like a rallying call for your staff, for your suppliers, for your contractors and the community. But it's also reassuring for your customers to understand that you're driven by a number of parameters, not just the bit about selling and sending boxes to people, or indeed turning up at their premises. So look back and think about this manifesto page.
Your why is just so important. It helps tell the story. It helps you stand out. It helps you be different, and it brings the authenticity. And I must admit that when I first started out in business, I didn't really see the point. I didn't see the point of visions and values and missions and whys. And it's only with the sort of the experience that I've had over the years that it's really obvious the difference that can make. And yeah, Pascal's totally tapped into the right thing here in terms of, if you're going to create one, make sure you at least feature it significantly across the website. Make it really known. Make it stand out. Why, your values, your vision, your mission, what it is you're trying to achieve, and that's what's going to make the real difference. What another episode. We've covered lead magnets. So should you call them lead magnets? We want to know what you would call them. We were thinking, is it the value offer? Is it exclusive content? Is it premium content, insider resource? What do you think lead magnets should be called these days? And how could you create one? How could you give your best value by listening to what your customers are asking, by thinking about what you're talking about in meetings that you have, and turning that into a valuable piece of content? That's what we see as a lead magnet. We talked about landing pages, focusing on the pain points, not just the sectors, focusing more on the pain points, way more than the sectors. We've given you a couple of apps to look at. We've talked about the alt text for images, and we've talked about Novio, the B2B sales automation. A quick couple of call to actions, the Favicon, and are you featuring your why sufficiently across your website? An all-round, full-packed episode yet again.
Yeah, and I have no idea how we do this in less than half an hour. It's just not really our strong suit. We tend to want to expand on things, of course. But jesting aside, for me, the reflections around how important it is to accept that your audience literally are in charge of your website strategy, because every single important decision, every single simple adjustment to your website is informed by your audience, and by extension, the degree in which you understand your audience.
Guys, girls, that is it for today. This was episode 16 of our new podcast series, the audio companion to the 90-day website mastery program. For more information, please visit 90daymarketingmastery.com, and you'll be able to book your discovery call with either myself and Pascal. We'll be back with another episode. In the meantime, feel free to send your questions, share your preferred app and links to your website once you've made the changes we spoke about. We would love to give you a shout out. It's bye for now, everyone, and we'll leave you with a fun video and audio montage whilst you go through your notes and actions. Take care. See you soon.